This is Abu Saeed, just moments before his death. So why start the video showing someone's manslaughter?
See, Abu Saeed was one of thousands of students who revolted against this woman.
During my stay in Saudi, I was able to befriend one Bangladeshi brother who I shared a hotel room with. We talked about many things over the course of 6 days, but the main thing that stuck with me was when he told me about the events of August 8th, 2024, and the exile of Sheikh Hasina, the ex-prime minister of Bangladesh. After taking in what I could understand from the conversation, I decided to do my homework, and I realized how in the West we talk about the major conflicts that's going on, but not this. Here's a stat for you. Only about 270,000 people in the US are Bangladesh. Roughly about 115,000 Bangladeshi people live in New York, with the largest concentrated in Queens and Brooklyn. Then and there I decided to see if I could get someone's opinion on how people in the city felt about the state of the government. Jackson Heights, the densest Bangladeshi place in all of New York. A community so populated with South Asian people that it makes you feel like you're stepping into some part of New Delhi or Islamabad. Here, I sit down with Brother Ashik, a travel agent for Islamic Travel Services. Coming from a Bangladeshi background, he decided to give me a brief history lesson on how things came to be.
Her whole family, they're always hiding in India. And even now, they're hiding in India. She is there. Her entire team of people are there. And actually, she fled without taking anybody from her party. She ran away by herself.
Just like she did last year?
Last few times. Not only this is not the first time. When she was there in India, I think they trained her to work for India. And also when Sheikh Hasina came in power for the first time, she said, I don't love Bangladesh. I came here to take revenge. They killed my dad, I'm going to destroy this country. That was in her mind. Or she told the people, the few people that she knows. Yeah, I mean, like she's held by Indians in Bangladesh.
Yeah, I heard something about that. And that's because she has the ties with India. She's so close with the India government, or she is because she has security in India.
Most important is India gave her the guarantee that as long you serve us, we will keep you in the position. Yeah, so it's all about power.
Right.
It's not about love for your country. When you love your country, for example, Nelson Mandela, when he loves his country and he died for the country, he served the country. But on the other hand, these people, they love the power and position. And they took advantage of India supporting them because India is stronger as a country.
Do you know anything about the whole quota system that happened?
This quota system was basically like what Sheikh Hasina did in every department. She was putting her people. So if anything like the uprising happens, everybody gonna protect her.
Okay.
So this quota system, as I told you, she was trying to, the people who fought or the kids of those the freedom fighters, kids gonna get the job, all this, even though they don't have proper talent for that position. So the young kids, they're like, why is that? Why is that? If my father did the freedom fight, but he did it for the country. He didn't want to take the certificate that, I fought for the country. But now, even my father didn't fight. I have the talent. Why am I not going to get that position? The position that I applied for, right? I have every right to get that position if I have the talent, if I'm qualified. So she was like, no, it's only for the people, the kids of the firefighters. And honestly speaking, the lot of people that took the certificate of the freedom fighting, that they fought for the country, those are fake and false. They took false certificate. People that were born after the freedom fight, they took the certificate of freedom fighter. How?
There was a lot of forgery going on.
A lot of forgery going on this thing. Yeah, the getting the certificate. If you had connection, you can go and then get a certificate. That's what happened, and that's actually so the kids when they saw that, they're like, no, if I have talent, if I'm able to, then I deserve that position because I'm same Bangladeshi as him.
Right.
Yeah. So, but
And then I guess what they wanted to bring it back.
yeah.
Was that
So
the case?
what? No, she said only the freedom fighters kids gonna get
it,
the
yeah.
job, and the students are like, why can't it be open for everyone?
Okay.
Right? So where are we gonna go? We're gonna be always like slaves in our country, right? And then she started saying bad things to these kids that we were asking.
She said the R word, right?
Yeah.
Razakar.
Rajakar. So Rajakar, it means like you against the country, which is not true. They're not, the young kids, how they be against the country? There's no war going on in the country, right? So, and you cannot be blamed for what your father did. So you cannot be blamed for what your grandfather did. And raised in this country, you have the same right as other people. Everybody should be equal. If you have the talent, you go. If you have talent to be the prime minister of Bangladesh, you should be. It's not a family thing. It's not your father gonna pass it down to you. It doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, when Sheikh Hasina was here, most of the department was running by her people. She ran away, but not the whole department ran away.
Yeah. So there could still be some loyalty to her that can corrupt from within.
And this is happening. This is still going on. Still going on. It's not easy to change the entire country within 1 year, 2 years.
No.
It's gonna take, and that's why Hasina became Hasina within 18 years. It took her 18 years to become what she was. But the new generation of Bangladesh, to be honest with you, very knowledgeable. Very knowledgeable. They're not coming from family backgrounds. They're real talented, educated kids.
What part of Abu Saeed's murder actually influenced, this uprising? Or
Honestly, seeing a live death, I think that's what really actually a lot. Unfortunately, it's really something that happens often. But I think what it became is that same day when Abu Sayyad was also getting killed, right? A lot of people also were getting targeted and hurt from that military occupation. I think that became just kind of like the strike that a lot of young people utilizing social media to try to organize people around in Bangladesh, but also internationally, right? But also organizing currently. I think that became kind of a pinnacle. It was I don't want to say the last straw, because this struggle is still going on, right?
but that was the tipping point for, I guess,
Just to explode.
for it to
To cause
explode,
this
right?
revolutionary crisis just to pop off, right? I think that was just a tipping point. It was not the end of everything, but it was the tipping point where this middle class section of students that was opposing against the quota system, but it became something more beyond that. It became a fight against fascism.
Do many people believe that there's still a war going on, whether it's mentally, like a mental war going on, like this whole, like, oh yeah, we gained our independence in 1970. No, like there's a portion of the country where it's like, no, we don't believe that. Like we're still fighting to this.
I believe the organizations that we've been like reading and researching into, they believe that we're not free. We haven't been free. We haven't yet to be liberated. Instead of, like I was telling you earlier, instead of thinking that we got liberated, we just became a neo-colony. Because the imperialist powers can no longer do direct colonialism like that we see during the time of the British colony days. They have to do something different. So for example, when Bangladesh became so-called independent in 1971, Sheikh Mujib was in prison, right, in Pakistan. And before he was being able to come back to Bangladesh to acknowledge the people, right, he went to the British, he went to UK to establish relationships with the Commonwealth of the British. And the British Commonwealth, if you're not afraid of, or know of the British Commonwealth basically controls also international markets. So they'll tell you what you cannot sell, what we want, what you cannot. And they will do it in a different way. They'll be like, we'll have you in the table, right? We'll have you sitting in the table now, but you'll just get a small piece of the pie. But that piece of the pie only usually goes to the ruling classes of those specific countries usually. And that's just a small minority. It's not a majority of the masses. The majority of the masses of Bangladesh yet to have control of three basic things. Their labor power, to decide what type of labor they want to do, because they can't decide what kind of labor power. Unfortunately, The market is telling you like, hey, listen, make ready-made garment workers, because that's what's selling in the international markets. And our masters, our imperialist masters, telling us this is what they want us to do. So if this is what they're telling us they want to do, then we have to make our land tailor to that, our businesses to tailor to that, right? So they don't have control of their labor, because now they have to, a lot of them have to do labor work similar to garment working, or they have to leave the country because they can't find work to go to the Middle East or to the UAE or Dubai to be basically indentured slaves.
In Saudi, they have like a lot of them are on contract. Someone sends them there and they work for this manager, and then after the contract, they either can stay or they got to find work somewhere else.
They take their passports, all that, to make it more difficult, and then they live in a room. You see these little 6 little boxes that we have here. Yeah. It's like probably sometimes 20 people live in here, you know, and they have to work. And then their management, you know, you're talking about those management companies. Yeah. They would tell them like, oh, you have a great type of job or whatever the case is. But then when you come to Dubai, when you come to Saudi Arabia or UAE, you're basically an indentured slave, and you're not even making properly. And you know, there's also a lot of guilt that they have, because their families just sold their land, all that, for them to come out to another country to try to make money to send back. If we don't have power, and power can mean different things for different folks, right? There is the power that they use, which is a power of corruption, right? But then there's people power, right? And we need the power of people, of common day people coming together. You know, even currently right now, even in Africa, in Kenya, in Nigeria, in all these places in Central South America, Nepal, people are uprising and coming together, and they're starting to see, and young people too, right? Like young people coming together and realizing like, holy crap, like honestly, we have no future. Our only option literally is to resist.
Yeah, it's so crazy and that's why I was so inclined by this whole event that happened. Although you say that, yeah, the students had a small portion to do with it. It's just
the students have a big portion.
Oh, they did. They had a big portion to do.
Is that the students, when the students were able to get to its peak level of strength, it was when they were able to tie their struggles to the general population of like Rishka drivers, of CNG drivers, indigenous people, the factory worker, garment worker. When they were able to tie their struggle and change in making their very, very student section, very, like, you know, very student center.
They concentrated it on
when the youth were getting killed, Abu Sayyaf was also getting murdered. That's when it just started up more. It was like, yo, nah. And that's when the CNG drivers, the Rishka drivers were stopping, blocking the streets.
Bridge.
And they've been doing this already. That's the other thing. They've been doing this, like the garment workers and also the Rishka drivers, because the government is also forcing them to not even utilize electric bikes for their Rishka drivers. And they're forcing a lot of also these they're trying to make it difficult. Students were still the main leading force. But the thing is that student as a social, they're not a social class. They're an oppressed group of sectors in society, but not necessarily a social class themselves. Because a student, you're not always a student your entire time.
Right.
You know, once you graduate, you're no longer a student, right?
The question always goes back to what's in it for me, or like why should I care?
For whom and for what? For whom are you doing it for, and for what reasons? I think those are two fundamental questions that we need to always ask ourselves. Because are you also doing it for yourself? Because there's people who do it just for themselves on some real shit. You know, like do it for their own art and their own propaganda and then their own individual career gains. But then there's people who are literally documenting and sacrificing their lives for this, right? And then there's folks who just do it, unfortunately, for their own careers. And we definitely met people like that. That definitely happens. We want to encourage people, even our own diasporas who do that, to really, really think about, like, do you just want to be the person like who's documenting it, or do you want to be the person who's also participating and also documenting it?
Where do you see it going from here? Like, because they started something, but it behooves them to educate themselves on a new type of society that they're trying to build. How do you see that looking like?
Bring the students and youth to the countryside as well into the urban poor areas, so they can integrate with the urban poor, to get the urban poor to start to understand the need of organizing, building up infrastructures, because the students and you still have some degree of capital usually, right? To start building up infrastructures to aid in making space for the garment workers to plug into the organizing efforts more, for their children to plug into these organizing efforts more, integrating with the landless people, indigenous people, supporting them in different ways, and connecting that struggle to a more broader program.
Comrade does have a point. The students have to tie their struggle with an even greater struggle if they want to see change. Unity amongst ethnicities isn't easy, and the reach for change is even harder. Not impossible, but definitely hard. We can use what happened in Bangladesh to look at our society and ask, are we just fighting as a form of resistance to the incumbent power, or is it to bring in a system that'll benefit every individual living in it?